What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you by Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance on Facebook and on YouTube. And tonight I am ecstatic to have one of Australia's top wrestlers on my show tonight. He is one half of the Velocities tag team and the newest member of Generation Now, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. But before we get before we get started, let's take a quick second to thank some of my sponsors. First up is A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is that company you were seeing all over the wrestling groups, all over the wrestling pages. They make custom cups, tumblers, hoodies, keychains, you name it, they make it. They made me this custom CM Punk tumbler, and I absolutely love it. Everyone knows I'm a huge mark for CM Punk. Haven't drunk beer out of it yet because I kind of feel that would be, probably shouldn't do that. But guys, check out A-Rock Designs. They do an incredible product at an incredible price, and they ship worldwide, baby. Next is Signal Studios. So if you're an independent professional wrestler, you need to make sure you have fly music when you come to the ring. So if you want to get your hands on a new entrance song, you can hit up my boy Rafi. He's based in West Ryde in Sydney, Australia. He can mix, master, create whatever you need and send it out anywhere in the world. Or if you're a local musician here in Sydney, you need a place to jam, a place to rehearse, a place to record. They have the most comfortable setup possible, so you can get those creative juices flowing. But guys, I can see the chat is going off. We have so many people here. We got Joel Southgate, we got Kyle Eade in the house, we got Chelsea from Germany in the house, we have Kyle again, and we got Garrett Hilton. But before I bore you all to death, I'm gonna bring him out. Let's bring out Jude the Dude London. What's up, brother?
Hey, whoa, what's up, Piers? Very glad to be here. Excited to have a chat.
Man, I'm excited to have you on, man. It's sorry it's taken so long, brother, but we've finally got this time to sort it out, man, and I'm really excited to have you on, dude.
Absolutely, man. You got a long list of superstars to get through, so don't you stress about it.
Oh, bro, you're at the top of the list, man. I'll tell you what, after seeing your match at Wristlock and Pile Drivers in that 6-man, dude, it was fucking phenomenal. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I should swear in front of you, but then I thought, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah, dude, look, that was a phenomenal match. And, when I had Paris on the other week, I told him that, dude, after seeing your match, I went back to look at some of, your past matches and, really sort of look into it because, you guys really stood out to me, Speed Force and even, the Velocities tag team. And I mentioned, I see a lot of the Japanese style intertwined in that. You can see that's heavily influenced that. Have you been a big Japanese wrestling fan yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Not since the start. I started when I was like maybe a 10-year-old kid, watching out with my dad, just watching like Monday Night Raw, probably like every other kid. It's when I got into like wrestling training that I started to watch the Japanese stuff, like New Japan and Dragon Gate, being like the big ones for me. So that's why you see a lot of that style come through when I'm in the ring and when Paris is in the ring as well, because that's just the shit that we love, dude. That's our favorite stuff.
Oh, absolutely. But you mentioned you were 10 years old when you got into wrestling, dude. Like as a fan, who were some of the guys that really stood out to you that really sort of captivated your attention?
Yeah, man. I started watching, I think, when it was around that time when Evolution was running stuff. But the first dude that stood out to me was Rob Van Dam, just because he was so like athletic and flexible and all the things he could do, martial arts style. I love that stuff, man. So he's like the first guy that stood out to me. He was like my first favorite wrestler, man. The first moment that I can remember as a wrestling fan was when he had a steel cage match with Kane, and Kane yeeted him through the steel cage. And then Eric Bischoff came out and said, no, he has to go over the cage, not through the cage. And I was losing my little kid brain, like, no, you won. Yeah, that was my first wrestling memory.
Dude, you're making me feel old, bro. When Evolution was in, I was like in my 20s, man. Like, fuck. But no, dude, what a time to become a fan, because that was a golden time of professional wrestling.
Mm.
Evolution, run wild there. Were your parents fans of the business as well, or were they just like, oh, okay, this is something he's getting into? It'd probably be a phase.
Just my dad. He definitely thought it was a phase. Like I just caught him watching it on the couch late one night, and I just sat next to him, and he let me stay up. And that's probably the best or worst thing he's ever done, because that's what led me to the path that I'm on right now. So like the first year of me watching wrestling, it was always on the couch as a little kid watching with my dad. His favorites were Undertaker, of course, a classic,
Yeah.
and Goldberg, because he just got in there, did the job, didn't take shit from anyone. My dad's a man of few words, and so will Goldberg and Undertaker. So that's why he got that connection with them. Um, yeah, man, that was me as a little wrestling fan.
It's amazing how characters resonate with people though. Like it's, you mentioned your dad being a man of few words, and the characters of Goldberg and Undertaker as well, man. You can definitely see that. And I think when people can relate to a character, it becomes believable more. Like people can sort of, and people invest themselves, like,
Absolutely.
oh, this guy's exactly like me. And I don't talk much, he doesn't talk, you know what I mean? Like even if it's just the little
Mm,
things, it's people can appreciate that. And it comes to, I think, storyline and the ability for a performer to tell a story and make it believable and get that connection with the audience.
absolutely, man.
But when did you decide you were like, you know what, I'm gonna get in the ring, I'm gonna train, I'm gonna start to do this? Like at what age
Yeah.
was that for you?
Um, Probably around what was it's probably been about 5 years now. So 21 or 22, something like that. I just probably like a lot of other people, just never knew that wrestling was a thing in Australia. Until I just jumped on the Google machine one day and searched it up, and I was like, oh shit, there are shows here, there are schools here. Wow, would you look at that? And it was kind of a thing. I was always a fan. Like people usually have that phase during school where they'll watch it and then it's just a phase and they'll just drop it for the rest of their life. But it always stuck with me because of like the characters and the story and like the athletics of it all.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a actor, athlete, and stuntman all wrapped in one. Is kind of what I thought of it. Um, and it was kind of a thing of, well, I don't want to be asking myself one day, what if, because like there's this thing that I love. I may as well try it to see if it's for me. So yeah, I just jumped on Google, and luckily, complete complete chance and happenstance, PWA was the first school that I found, and I called them up. I went to my first training session, did not know what to expect. The moment where I first got to the school on that like early Saturday morning, and saw the ring, that was like a mind blow moment for me. Because that's the first time that like I was that close to a wrestling ring, and I got to like feel it and step in it and train in it and get very sore from it the next day. But yeah, I went to that first day of training, man, and I fell in love straight away, and I never looked back.
And how was it like going down there? Did you feel like a little bit intimidated at first going down there and meeting some of these guys that are professional wrestlers and getting in there and getting in the ring and training? Was it intimidating at first, or did you feel comfortable straight off the bat?
Yeah, I wouldn't say intimidating, because I was a complete like newbie, didn't know anyone. I was just a dude that entered this completely new world, not knowing anyone or anything. But intimidating is not the word I would use. Like the environment there was very welcoming, and like the coaches and the people that were there. Nervous, definitely. I just like didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how much it would hurt. I didn't know like what I'd be doing if people be punching me in the face, dude, like slamming me. I didn't know what to expect on the first day. But it was nerve wracking. But once I started going through the motions, it was, I don't know, just like a really really hard workout. Um, and then all the bumping and the rope running, all that stuff came a few sessions later. That's not day one stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I remember my first day. It was nerve wracking, but it was an awesome experience.
Oh, it definitely would be. And I think if you have a love for professional wrestling, it doesn't matter what you go through. And, you hear, the days of old of like, going there and guys and trainers just breaking guys down just to see who really, really wants it. And, that really sort of narrows down like who wants to like actually do it, but it also probably turns away a lot of people and turns people off it as well. Like I
Yeah.
get the old school mentality, but the one thing that I saw from being at the PWA show and speaking to a few of the PWA guys that I've had the fortune of having on this show is that PWA is such a family environment. It's a family welcoming sort of environment as well. Like I remember, like I said the other week, going to the PWA show, the first time I'd been to one in a long, long time. And it's like people were just the fans in the audience, the wrestlers, the people that work there, everyone was just welcoming and friendly. And it was to everybody. It felt like a warm environment.
Yeah, man. That's something we definitely like strive to do. Like we definitely have our black label shows, where it's like F bombs and swearing and a bit of this and whatever. But then we have like our green label and our academy shows and all that, where it is definitely that family environment. It's a show for families and under 18s. But just across the board with all of our shows, being inclusive is something that we have always strive to do. That's something that I've always found in my time at PWA.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the black label shows, dude, and that's one I can't wait to go and attend. To be honest,
Yeah.
like I'm really looking forward to it, and it's cool, man. Like I said, it's a very cool environment, and you can see that everyone there that's working together. And I've said this before in other interviews. It's like you get a sense of a team. Like it's you guys are team PWA. Like it's like everyone is working for the common goal to make things better for the overall product. It's not just like I'm the main guy, I'm the champ, you're the jobber, you're gonna go down. It's the matches were all very competitive, but also the environment that it was like something I haven't seen in the wrestling business from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
Previously, but going into starting to wrestle, how long was the time frame before training and actually getting into the ring?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of different for like everyone a little bit. Probably within the first couple of weeks, like I was in the ring, just like starting to do things, starting to learn how to do things. But when I started, I was a little bit naughty. So at PWA, at the academy, there are different days for different levels of class. You probably find this at a lot of wrestling schools. So we have like a very core level, which is like your first day, like your first few months of stuff. Then there's a second more intermediate level, and then there's like the advanced stuff where like I'm not 30 years old, Joel Southgate. I ain't that old yet, bro. You gotta wait a couple years for that. And then we have that top advanced level where like all the guys on shows and like the top guys of the company will go to train on those certain nights. When I first started out, I would just go to all the days. So I was only supposed to be at that level 1, but I just went to all the days, and like I was the new guy. So people were like giving me the side eye, be like, what the fuck's this guy doing here? But no one would tell me I couldn't be there. They were just all like a little bit heated that I was actually there in the first place to begin with, even though I should only be attending days over here. I attended every single day. And I kept my mouth shut and I kept my eyes open for like the first year that I was in wrestling, which is probably why they allowed me to stay through all those classes and just sit back and watch and learn. And sometimes I'd be able to join in on some of those more advanced drills, which helped me get my foot in the ring a little earlier than probably a couple other people. So yeah, man, I was a bit cheeky because I loved wrestling so much. I just wanted to be around it as much as I could.
But I don't think anyone could really give you heat for that. Like that just shows your passion and determination to really want to
exactly.
like make something of yourself. Like I could probably guess some of the more senior guys going like, what the fuck? But like, they must sort of see that as like going, man, they were probably in, some of them were probably in that same boat, man, that you. And there's probably some guys that are too scared to just turn around and turn up every day and stuff like this. Like, am I overstepping the mark? But, I think that shows confidence and your willingness to learn and get better and become a performer.
Yeah, man, absolutely. In life, and like I take this in wrestling as well. I personally, I find myself very good at being able to separate business from personal. And that's something that has definitely helped me with like my wrestling career. Like, don't get your emotions attached. Do what's best for the show. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for da 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 da, etc. It's business at the end of the day. And like eventually, after a year of keeping my mouth shut, they just all eventually got to love this silly face, and I was part of the team.
Dude, one of the things I have to ask you about, and I saw this the other day. You did a shooting star press that turned into a DDT, and to be honest, dude, like we were talking before the show. I am a fucking huge wrestling mark. I can't get enough wrestling, whether it be independents, major promotions, whatever it may be. I'd never seen shit like that before. Like, I saw the thing like labeled. I'm like, what the fuck? I have to see this. Dude, that was impressive. Like, how did you come up with that spot?
Bro, it was super impressive, but I can't take credit for that, man. That wasn't me. That was Paris. That was the other Velocity. But
it had your name on it, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's all good. I probably shared the shit out of it when it did happen. Bro, that's the beauty of being in a tag team, being two short, fast, ethnic boys. We always get told that we look the same. When one of us does something amazing, it just kind of gets both of us over and gets the team over. But yeah, dude, Paris is insane. He's a freak athlete. He's a superstar, and he's a good Christian boy. That guy can do things that I've never seen before, and I haven't seen other people do, or be able to do. And like in such a short time frame as well. Like, sometimes he'll just try like a technique, and or like the first or second time he does it, it just looks perfect. I don't know how he does that shit sometimes, dude.
Bro, those are the people you sit there and go, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
But I apologize about that, because, like I said, I did see your name on it. That's why I made a note of it. But that's good, embarrassing. Man. Sorry.
No, that's all good.
But obviously, with you guys, being a tag team, was tag team wrestling something that you were always a fan of? Was it something that you wanted to be a tag team wrestler? Like, was that a goal for you?
You know what? It was kind of like when I was growing up watching, it was kind of just like just another part of the show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then getting into wrestling, never had any real ambitions of like wanting to be a tag team guy. I just kind of wanted to find myself in wrestling, whatever that meant. Like, I wanted to find what character I could be, and the things that I liked and the things that I could do in the ring.
Yeah.
And then one day, I just got presented with the opportunity of being in a tag team with Paris, a guy that it turns out we mesh very, very well together, and we just have this chemistry that is undeniable, and it was immediate for me. So I never really had any aspirations of being a tag team guy, dude, but ever since we started, like, I'm a tag team guy through and through. I keep saying that I'm a tag team specialist because, like, whether it's Paris or Mort or Rogers, any member of Speed Force or Generation Now, I guess, because I'm in so many damn groups. Tag team wrestling is now my favorite thing. And it's taken being in a tag team to realize that. And when I try to break it down, the fundamental reason is this: in a singles match, you have two guys, right? And that's two different elements and two different dynamics. But in a tag team match, that's four different people, and that's four different potential flavors you can have, and it can be faster paced action because you can do a lot more things with four people than you can with two, and you can tell different story elements, and you can do different things as part of your performance in the ring. So, man, like, tag team wrestling is my shit now. Like, that's my bread and butter, and that's what I'm the biggest fan of.
But you know what? I think as well, like to be a good tag team wrestler or six-man wrestler, you know, or wrestling in those multi-man teams, you really have to be a good overall performer because, you know, the more people you add into a professional wrestling match, there's more room for error. There's more, you know what I mean? Like you have to be able to be a really good, consistent, high-quality performer as a singles to even be in a tag team. I mean, you know, you've heard the stories of sometimes tag teams are put together. You've got one veteran, one inexperienced guy to bring that inexperienced guy up. But still, it's like to have a tag team on that equal level footing, you really need to be able to hold your own as a singles competitor. That's just my opinion as a fan. Like I said, it's, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know it all about wrestling, but I do have opinions. And for me, that's how I see it.
Yeah, look, man, I agree with you. I think that's something actually that I said at the end of my round one in the PWA Premiership against Manny Warburg. I said every good tag team wrestler is a great singles wrestler to start with because you have to understand, like you were alluding to there, you have to understand what you bring and what your partner brings, and then everything else that is going on in their ring at that one time.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, now that you have been a tag team wrestler and, well, you are a tag team wrestler, who are some of the teams that you really sort of look at for inspiration or, you know, look at and go and not take
Mm,
things from, but take inspirations, I should say, from?
sure. Um, I mean, probably like every indie like tag team fan. A big one is the Motor City Machine Guns, just as a foundation. But a lot of it is from a lot of like Japanese tag teams as well. Very well documented. Paris and I are big fans of Dragon Gate. A lot of our stuff we take inspiration from like Dragon Gate and old Japanese matches. Someone that I've been watching a lot throughout like this year throughout lockdown and stuff was Yoshino Masato Yoshino and
Yeah.
his tag team with Nariki Doi Speed Muscle. It's like old stuff like that, man. Watching a lot of old Dragon Gate. So many dudes. Dragon Kid as well. It seems like in Dragon Gate they have like all these factions, and then
Yeah.
different members always like over the years they just like intermingle and change factions. So you get to see like different combinations of different guys teaming. Yeah.
I think that's like most Japanese promotions. Like New Japan is very similar, like really big on like the factions and the multi-man factions like Chaos, Bullet Club, and stuff
Mm.
like that. And you know what? I'm a big fan of it, and especially when you can intertwine different people and give it storyline and give it depth, but also like, you know, the matches that you get from it as well. Um,
Mm.
but you know, you got to a chance to go over to the United States, the UK. You actually wrestled for PWG, and for anyone who's watching who doesn't know what PWG is Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and it's probably one of the hottest indies over in the United States, if not the hottest. What was your experience like working for PWG?
Dude, unfortunately, we did go to the US, but we were supposed to go again at the start of this year in March to
Yeah.
PWG. I believe we were supposed to have a match with Artemis and Ray Horace, but COVID took that away from us, man. So I personally I haven't made my PWG debut yet, but last year in the US we went in October. We went for Shikara King of Trios, myself, Paris, and Matt Diamond, old Uncle Mort. So we got to compete in King of Trios, and that was an awesome experience and a really great time. Like because that was our first time extended period gelling as a trio. But as part of that trip, we just took it upon ourselves to extend the trip out so we could attend PWG and just meet people and help out with the ring crew and just be around it. And an
Sorry,
opportunity.
that's where, yeah, because I remember hearing that
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
there. So sorry about
That's all good, man. So
that.
we were there for the whole bowler weekend. And on the final night, an opportunity arose where a spot had to be filled, and
Mhm.
Paris got that spot. And again, he did that crazy shooting star DDT, that SSP DDT.
Yeah.
Nuts, man. So yeah, hopefully, man, hopefully once things open up again, I get to make my PWG debut, and it's alongside Paris, and we can just show PWG and show the world how awesome we are as tag team wrestlers.
Oh, absolutely. But you mentioned Shikara. How was it performing over there with those guys? Because
Mm.
Mike Quackenbush has always put on a phenomenal product. How did you find the Shikara crowd? Did it take to you guys instantly?
You know what? They were a very warm and generous crowd we found. Like very receptive. Very responsive to all the antics and the performance that we were putting in the ring. And I think just generally they were a fan of our fast and acrobatic and high flying style. They were very receptive towards that. Being in Shikara, it it was kind of funny because it felt like being back home at PWA, like just with a different sort of family. It had that same culture and that same vibe that we have back at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's because a lot of our head coaches, like Madison and Robbie, and even Jack Bonza, Mick Moretti as well, they've all been to Shikara. They've all been influenced by Mike Quackenbush and the Shikara teachings and styling. So I think they like took that and kind of brought that back home, and a bit of that has been instilled in the PWA, in the Pro Wrestling Academy at PWA.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. And did you find that the American style and the UK and the Australian style is completely different, or did you find it was very on par similar?
Um, I don't know that we wrestled like a traditional American indie style
Yeah.
because
Well, I
Shikara
mean,
felt,
yeah. I mean, like wrestling over there on the Indies compared to wrestling here.
yeah. Well, like again, I've only had the experience with Shikara, and that feels very
Mm.
similar to like back home because we're taught some of the same techniques because that's a lot of that stuff is derived from lucha, and we're big on that at home as well. Um, it felt like a very natural fit for us, like very natural fit. It was really cool, man. With the UK, that that was a little different. We found that to be a bit more, or myself anyway. I found that to be a bit more like slower paced and drawn out than what I was initially used to at like that experience point in my career. And it was just a different style of match. And that's something that now like I've done that and I've been there and I've kind of taken that under my belt. And I'm very glad that I have that tool in my arsenal right now. I have that experience from the UK, and I can splash little flavors of that in matches back home if I need to or if I want to.
Oh, 100%. And with the time spent overseas, in the US and the UK, was there much stuff that you picked up there that you were like light bulb moments that sort of picked up for you? Like, was there anything that you sort of walked away from going, shit, I didn't know that?
Yeah. We took the opportunity while we were in both in the US and the UK to not only perform on the shows we were working, but we sought out different training schools. I think in the UK we went to Fight Club and the London School of Lucha Libre, which like both
Oh,
awesome places. The London School of Lucha Libre, like they have like this dance warm up. It's like super cool. It feels like a rave, but like you're working a sweat and you're stretching. I'm a man that loves a good stretch, man. So that was right up my alley. That was really cool. And in the US, man, like we got to train at Chikara for that week while we were in Philly, and we even got some. Paris and I got some one-on-one time with Mike as well.
oh,
It might have been like 45 minutes or something, or an hour or something like that. But just that time, like we were working on the techniques that we had, and he showed us certain ways to improve them and maybe use them in different sequences, different points of a match, and he threw out a few different uh, techniques as well that like we have in our back pocket today. So it was really cool. Apart from just training at the schools, the biggest thing that I took away from our trips overseas, especially to the UK, because that was our first international excursion. The
yeah,
biggest thing that I took away was we can hang with like in other indie level talent. Our first match like off of Australian waters was against Aussie Open for Attack. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Carl Fletcher and Mark Davis.
Nice.
And that was that was really cool. I don't think I've watched that match back, but just like remembering it and feeling it. I remember, freaking out while Paris and I were getting ready for the match and like, oh man, okay, this is the first one overseas. We got to do well. Let's go do it. Just like freaking our little minds out. But then when we were out there past the curtain under the spotlight, I feel like we can hang with just about anyone, man. That was a real light bulb moment, wake up moment for me. That was a moment where it instilled confidence in myself as a performer.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely would. Like to be able to go and, the UK scene, the US scene, pre-COVID was so hot, and that feeling for you to go there and go, you know what, I can hang with these guys, and would give you so much confidence. And to come back here and then, go, at least I know I'm on the right path. I'm on the right track for my career where I need to be.
Yeah.
But as far as like, just general training, like what sort of workouts do you do to keep yourself in shape and keep yourself in ring shape? Do you spend a lot of time on cardio sort of stuff, or, you hitting weights?
Yeah, right. I'll give you a little bit of what I've been doing this year. I've changed the way that I've worked out this year. I used to always be like of the mentality of like go to wrestling training like 5 days a week, 5 6 days a week, as much as you can. But now it's like 5 years in. I'm at that point where do as much as you can, but also maybe just save that bump card a little bit. Maybe you can work on your body in a lot more efficient and positive ways. So I'll go to the academy maybe 3 to 4 nights a week. And we do a lot of cardio and calisthenics there, and then working out in ring technique stuff. Apart from that, I'm in the gym doing this like this very explosive full body program. I've invested in a personal trainer, which has been like a godsend, because I used to just kind of do whatever, and just hope for the best. But now I've got a very targeted workout regimen. So I'm hitting weights 3 times a week. And then on like an off day, I'll do some yoga or some rehab exercise, because man, after a few years of being in it, my body's a bit banged up, and I definitely have a lot more problems with my body now than when I started. Sometimes when it's late at night and I'm just rolling over, I can hear my hip crunch like a cement mixer. So that's not good. That's just
Jeez,
but that's just one of
you
the
should probably get that
I
checked out.
deal with. Oh, I have. I'm working on it every day.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
serious injury.
It's nothing that'll stop me from performing, but it's something that I want to get better with. Something that I want to just heal as much as I can. But as a wrestler, man, it's kind of like, okay, I wake up in the morning, and what body part do I feel like protecting or conserving or working on today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 5 6 years into the business, man, how's the injury card going? Have you had anything serious happen to you in that time?
I've had a few like niggling and nagging ones. I would say that I've had one major one that was, in hindsight, pretty scary. At the time, I didn't realize it. Last year at Ballroom Brawl, I suffered during a match at MCW tag team match. I suffered a collapsed lung. Didn't know it. Didn't know it in the match. Just took a real bad
Shit.
strike to the chest. And then drove home to Sydney with like all the Sydney guys that were there the next day. And then 2 days after the match, I was like, maybe I should get this checked out. And the GP said, you need to get to the hospital right now, man. And I was like, oh shit, okay. I guess they'll tell me what's up. And then they just drained out not my actual lung, but they drained out my chest that was like pushing against the lung right there and then. And then I got a week in hospital.
Jesus.
Yeah. Look, man, at the time I was all peachy and bright eyed. I was like, this hurts, but I'll get it checked out and I'll be all good. I didn't realize how like potentially life threatening it was at the time, but I'm glad that it got sorted out as quickly as it did. That's I find that I'm someone that can like look back and like laugh at stuff. I think you have to kind of do that. You have to have that sense of humor. I can
Oh,
pretty much
absolutely.
I can laugh at like kind of anything. Sometimes that's dangerous, as my friends will tell you. But I think
I'm the same way. I'm the same way,
it
bro. I'm the same
yeah,
fucking way.
punch humor and anything. Hey, I think
Oh,
um I think it's funny that just from like simple things, everyday things that you do in any wrestling match that caused me to accidentally just freak accident get a lung injury, but I can like jump off a balcony at max watts like 3 stories high and be completely fine and wrestle for another like 6 to 8 minutes after that. I don't know, man. Wrestling world's weird.
dude, that's crazy. But how long did that leave you like on the shelf for, dude? Because a collapsed lung is a pretty serious
Um,
injury.
yeah, it might have been 2 months, something like that. I definitely missed a few. I missed a few shows because of it. The first one back after that collapsed lung was actually the PWA Tag Team Championship match against the Nations, where Paris and I successfully captured the titles. So first match back after an injury like that to be a big tag title match. Like at that point, one of probably the biggest match of our career. It was pretty nerve wracking, man, but got through it just fine.
That first match back, was there any sort of niggling things in the back of your mind? You mentioned, you have no problems getting in the ring and climbing Max Watts and
Yeah,
jumping off there and doing that. But, in the back of your mind, you had that. But was there any hesitation in that first match back? Were you like,
yeah,
someone putting you in the corner and
lighting me up, kicking me in the back, that sort of thing.
yeah,
Um, physically, no limitations. No real hesitation. It was all mental, man. Like it was all leading up to the match. Like, what if something goes wrong again? Like, I don't really know. I guess I just have to test it out and see how we go. Is what I kept telling myself, and it's a conclusion that I drew for myself. Because like before that match, I was like just dipping my toe back into cardio and training, and then okay, can I take a bump? Can I do the things I used to do? Does getting into like a high heart rate do anything bad for me? And all that stuff, I was fine with. And then yeah, man, that first match back, definitely felt it after taking a break from wrestling. The body was sore after that.
yeah,
Don't
you
get me
would.
wrong, but it was all just a mental hurdle, man. Physically, I was there. I was fine. And then once the match was over, that was just proof that I was back, baby.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you say it's mental, and I think that's a lot of thing with athletes. When they
Mm,
get a serious injury, it's like it's coming back from that and being able to recover in your mind and thinking, okay, like a fighter breaking his leg or something along those lines. I'm not going to let anyone in sparring hit this leg. I'm going to keep back. And I think in pro wrestling, one of the things I gathered is if you hesitate or you think something bad is going to happen, like you just got to let your mind just be completely free of that shit when you're in there, because otherwise it's always going to be on the back of your mind.
yep.
But obviously, you were able to come back from that, dude, and you were able to sort of show everyone that how you were back and have a stellar match, as you said. But as far as like wrestling here in Australia, do you, like you mentioned that you've wrestled over in MCW?
Mm.
Have you had an opportunity to go and wrestle in some of the other states? Like I know, Adelaide has, a really strong promotion. Melbourne has a couple of strong promotions as well. Have you gone over there and dipped your toes in the water Australia wide?
Yeah, not like the whole country, man, but in my early years. Oh, pardon me. That's that sparkling water coming up.
Let it go,
Um,
brother. Better out than in.
that's right. In my early, like maybe my second or third year in, I got to go to Perth, for a promotion called Schwa, and that was my first interstate trip, I believe. And that was really cool. MCW, have been there a couple times in tag team action, and man, that's been really fun. Actually, the last match that Paris and I were there, it was in February against the Mile High Club, and we were successful and victorious, and we were the number one contenders, or we still are, and then COVID happened, dude. So as soon as those borders open up, like we got our sights set on the Brat Pack. Feels like we've been waiting 10 years for that match to happen, even though I've been wrestling for 5 years. Feels way longer. So that's something we'll definitely do down the track. Other than that, one time, it might have been last year. I'm terrible with dates and timelines, but myself and Matt Diamond, we got to go to EPW and represent the Velocities and PWA against the Street Gang Hooligans. And man, that's one of the most fun matches like that we've ever had together. That was a really great time. Other than that, I don't think that I've wrestled shows in Adelaide or Queensland. I would definitely love to get to Wrestle Rampage sometime, dude.
Oh man, Wrestle Rampage is a promotion I've seen a lot about. Same with MCW, man. Like this, like when I started going to local shows here, man, was like the early 2000s, bro. And like, there's always been Australian talent here, but like now that the promotions are on a different level compared to then, man, like the talent, the storyline, the storytelling, it's on that same level as any overseas indie that's happening at the moment as well. And I think that it's definitely seen the Australian wrestling scene evolve, and Australian pro wrestling, I think in the last probably 5 to 10 years has really sort of started to make a mark internationally as well. You've started to see Australian talent, more Australian talent get signed to WWE, get opportunities in, other major promotions where, 20 years ago, you seeing an Australian wrestler, I think the only one that was close was Nathan Jones. And I don't think any Australian's going to be, you know what I mean? But it's like, that was, I remember. Well, exactly, dude. Like I remember seeing Nathan Jones and going, fucking Australian. But he's like 6'8", like shit. You know what I mean? Like, but now you're seeing, Australian talent really putting its mark on promotions overseas. And I think that the world has started to take notice of what Australian wrestling's doing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I feel like Big Fudge. He's like one of the first friends that I made, like one of the first proper friends that I made coming into wrestling as a rookie. And he always tells me, dude, I came in at like such a great time because it was like just on the cusp of Australia starting to like do great things and get that exposure. Like I've been very fortunate that I came in at a time where PWA still had the same drive and culture and talent that we have today. We didn't have the eyes on us yet. So I got the benefits of being around those people, being around that family, and training at the school, and kind of watching the growth over the past 5 years. And now, like we have a platform where we have like online shows where we're live streaming, which is nice.
Yeah.
That was a major investment for the company, and it looks like now it's paying off. Now we're airing the PWA Premiership weekly, Monday nights on Ovo. Get it if you don't have it already. Dude, it's absolutely crazy the ride that I've been on and that the company's been on. Just watching it grow and just watching Australian wrestling grow in general, as it's been awesome, dude. It really gives hope and confidence that one day we can make a living doing what we love to do, and that's the goal.
Yeah, and doing it locally as well.
That's right.
Like it's a lot of guys can get signed and go over to the States, but then it's like it's massive lifestyle change. It's away from, like, you're moving away from family, everything that you know. And I really hope that Australian wrestling can really sort of take off to the point where you guys can be full-time wrestlers, because I think if that is the case, you're only going to see that product get so much better, and it's going to grow. Like the quality of talent is going to improve, even though right now it's at a very high level. But when you guys are in there, day in and day out, it's going to be that next level. And you mentioned the PWA Premiership, which I saw episode 1, and man, like the concept of it in itself is great. Like I really enjoyed it. I think it's something original as well, like the point system. How do you find that as putting it into like storylines, but also the 2 brackets? How do you find the whole PWA Premiership? Is it something that you're a big fan of, or is it something that you would rather a weekly wrestling show?
Dude, absolutely. Like it is a weekly wrestling show. It's just that you're seeing different people every second week, every fortnight. So instead of wrestling once a week, I and the rest of the block are wrestling once a fortnight, which is still amazing. Considering considering where Australian wrestling has come from, But dude, I love it. More wrestling is awesome. It's like more content, more chance to get in the ring, to do what we love. I especially love the fact that it's a singles tournament, and we get a chance to wrestle everyone in our block. That's how many matches? Seven matches for me over the course of the 14 weeks of the tournament. It's awesome, dude. Tag team wrestling has been my bread and butter, and now to go back to singles competition and kind of apply the experience and the knowledge that I have built up over the past years, and go back to singles. It's just another chance to prove myself, dude, and show people what the Groovy Gladiator is all about.
That's it, man. And going in and wrestling as a singles, is it much of a change for you? As far as like, do you feel kind of like, I mean, you've been a tag team wrestler for so long. Do you feel like there's something missing? Like you're turning around, oh shit, no, I'm here by myself in this, or is it just like, gears going at all times?
It's definitely a shift in mindset. Don't get me wrong, I love having Paris in my corner, dude, and Rogers and Diamond. But at the same time, it's you don't have to focus on 2 people across the ring. You just focus on the one across the ring. So it's mono mono. It's you and them. So yeah, it's just a shift in mindset for me.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the thing. It's like, tag team wrestlers, when they are put in singles brackets, it's just having that shift of mindset of going in and going, okay. But again, it's an opportunity for you guys to sort of evolve as performers and work things out and pick things up here and there, and more people that you're working against. You mentioned you had the opportunity of working Matty Warburg, but who are some of the other names that maybe you haven't had a chance to get in the ring with that you'd really like to?
You know what? Next week, I believe, because there's an episode coming out. There's an episode coming out tomorrow. No, it came out last night. I got my
it came out Monday. Yeah.
Block A came out last night. Next week, I get the opportunity to wrestle Jessica Troy, and in all my time in PWA, I've never had a singles match with her, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to, man. That's going to be awesome. Jude versus Jess. That's a champion versus champion match. PWWA, representing that intergender talent and that belt, defending that belt against any comers. And me, a tag team champion. So that's a match that I've wanted for a long time, and I finally get it next week, man. So I'm very excited. And other than that, just thinking about some of the other opponents I have in my bracket, dude. Jack Bonza, he's like, he's big, mean, and tough, but I can't wait to stomp the back of his head in one more time when I eventually get that match. And as weird as it sounds, I'm very much looking forward to wrestling Matt Rogers when our time comes to face one another and stand across the ring from each other, because having him in Speed Force over the past year, we as a group we've watched each other grow, and our chemistry in the ring has just been that much stronger with every match that we've been a part of. I've been with Rogers in a lot of tag team and 6-man matches up to this point. I don't know, man. It just feels like it's going to be special when we get in the ring together.
Dude, Matt Rogers is a big fucking scary dude. Like when I was at the last show, I just saw him. I was like, holy fucking shit, this guy is massive. Like he's, but you know what? He fits in well with you know the faster, quicker guys like you guys. Like you know the match that you had was. Yeah, it was seamless. Like, you know, the way that he was able to come in and, you know, do the power moves, you guys would come in and doing the quick, you know, fast paced stuff. Like it really gels really well together.
Yeah, man.
Like as a fan, it's enjoyable to watch.
I really appreciate hearing that, man. At first glance, you might find a lot of people say, well, like, you know, there's three smaller, quicker, faster guys, and then one behemoth of a man that doesn't move as fast as them and just does power stuff. Like that's not a group that fits. But actually, if you look at Matt Rogers and if you look at how fast he can move when he wants to, it's freakish. And we've found that, like, we've been working together for the past year at least. We found that our styles contrast each other very well. So we have ways of, we have like new options. When it comes to tag teaming, and we have new strengths. We cover each other's weaknesses. It's synergy, man. It's great.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Like opposites attract as well, dude. Like if they put another like guy the same sort of style that you guys do, it's like okay, it's another, you know, 3-man, you know, quick, fast paced team, but having that different element in there, like Matt Rogers comes in, it makes for a different dynamic, and it makes it for more of an unpredictable, you know, show that you're watching. It's you know, like I said, it's you know, I thoroughly enjoyed the match that you guys were in.
Yeah, that was a fun match against the Prefix.
Dude, like they are so entertaining, the Prefix. Like I had the opportunity to interview Jimmy, and man, he's such a funny dude and so fucking intelligent as well, man. Like absolute great guy. And that match was amazing. Like it definitely worked well. You could see the little hints of comedy from them with the seriousness of Matt Rogers, you know, the skill that you guys were bringing. You know, and that match it really worked really well. Like it was really enjoyable to watch. And I believe that was the opening match as well. So it was like, you know, for me, I was sitting there going, dude, this is going to be a killer show.
It was awesome. Like I feel so blessed that we got to have the first match for PWA back from COVID with a live crowd, you know, like that was really cool. We just got to soak it in and be the first one there to show the live crowd we're wrestling again. It was super cool. It was a surreal feeling.
Oh, absolutely, man. And have you found like wrestling with like, you know, the no crowds and stuff like that for, you know, when you guys are doing, you know, the PWA premiership? You also had another card, I think a couple of weeks prior to wrist locks and pile drivers with no fans. Like, what was that dynamic like for you guys?
It's real different. You can't feed off the energy of the live crowd, and that might sound like cheesy and like a stereotype, you know, but having that live reception and energy there is so important. I'd say it's kind of integral to what we do. Without a crowd, it's a very different feeling, a very different dynamic. I find that it can give you opportunities to do some things and to perform in ways that you probably wouldn't be able to get across with a crowd. You can like focus on different performance elements and do like just hone in on certain things. So it's definitely an opportunity. But it's been really good to be able to learn in that new environment of wrestling with no fans. Like it's kind of like making chicken salad out of chicken shit, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing that I said when I started seeing like promotions doing it with no fans. It's like this is going to make for better performers. It's like you know how they communicate in the ring, how like everything changes because it's like it's a lot quieter with no fans cheering or booing and you know and making a lot of noise, and that you know is going to make for a better quality performer who can tighten up those little nuts and bolts to make a more free-flowing match.
Absolutely, man. And if nothing else, it just makes the performers in the ring appreciate having the crowd there and not take them for granted. That if nothing else, it really does that for us and hits that home.
Yeah, like I could imagine having the fans in the audience would be, kind of like that adrenaline rush. It's like when you do like a really, like massive, move or a massive bump that you take, like hearing that, oh yeah, like that would be like, I got these motherfuckers now. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll tell you, man. I'll tell you, doing a superplex hurts a little bit less with fans than without.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, that's the thing. Even when you do get hurt and stuff like that, having that there, the adrenaline would kick in, and then it's like, all right, gotta keep pushing through. But Jude, 5-6 years in the business, did you ever sit down and have any set out goals for yourself, like where you wanted to be, what you wanted to do, in certain time frames? I know a lot of guys sort of just don't do a lot of goal writing, but were you one of those people that wanted to set out some certain goals for yourself in wrestling?
Yeah, not too much, man. Like, I'm the type of guy that I won't write a whole bunch of stuff down or like have like a large checklist. I'll kind of work on one or two things, and then when I get that, I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? I find that focusing on just one or two things for myself is like a really great way of doing it. When I started out, man, I was like, okay, I want to learn how to do wrestling. And then I kind of started learning and I was like, okay, cool. I want to learn how to put this all together and perform on a show. And then within maybe 9 months in is when I got to perform on my first wrestling show. And I was like, great. Okay, awesome. I want to do this and be better at it and get over with the crowd. And then, okay, maybe my first championship somewhere. I don't know exactly what that would be or where that would be, but wherever I can do it, maybe a championship. And after that, it was like, okay, cool. Overseas, I've checked that list. And now I'm at a point where, man, I don't even know what the next goal is. Just make a living out of this, dude, however we can. Like, I feel very blessed and fortunate with where I've ended up in the world of wrestling, in PWA, with the connections and the people that I've found, and being able to work and train on a very frequent and regular basis, doing what I love, which is wrestling. So if I can just chip away at making a living out of this somehow, some way, that's the ultimate goal.
And how far away do you think that's going to be for Australian talent before they can start making a living out of this full time?
Shit, dude, I don't know. Hopefully it's within this generation of wrestling. Like I feel like we've made leaps and bounds from 5 years ago. So who knows where we're going to be in another 5 years? It's hard to map out where the landscape's going to be. But honestly, like since my third year in, it feels like every year, something crazy's happened. And then like it's like a year ago, if you told me that would have happened, I would have thought you were crazy. Like, I don't know, New Japan's coming to Australia. Robbie's gonna get signed to New Japan. He's gonna work a match with Osprey and Tanahashi and Okada against, like, Jay White and his cronies. And they're gonna run a massive angle in Australia, not even in Japan, in Australia. I would have thought you were fucking nuts, but that happened, dude. So I don't know where we're going to be in another 5 years. Hopefully,
it's crazy to think, man.
The game.
Yeah, and like I said, you guys definitely have. PWA has a show this Saturday. I'm just trying to remember that Movember.
November to remember.
Movember to remember. That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's going to be on OVO Play, guys. So make sure you check it out. If you aren't in Australia, it's definitely worth paying the $10 to get OVO Play to check out some good Australian wrestling, because these guys put on a phenomenal product. and a phenomenal show. You'll probably see this bald head sitting front row, cheering these guys on and cheering on the Velocities.
Nice.
But Jude, we are coming up to that 1 hour mark, and I do want to be respectful for your time. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, where they can get some of your merch and support you?
Absolutely, man. So you can find me on socials, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look for Jude the Dude London or Jude London, and you'll find me across all those platforms. For merch, I've got a big cartel where I do sell some older merch, but wrestler merch is where it's at, man. Wrestler merch. You can get this bad boy Speed Force shirt. Quite fond of this one. Nice little 80s retro shirt.
That's cool.
And I'd like one last plug. You mentioned Piers. We have the show coming up for PWA this weekend, Movember to Remember. We're partnering with Movember for Mental Health in November, Australia. So if you can't make the show or watch the show, please consider making a donation to the Movember Foundation. PWA has a link. I think you can find it across all their social media channels. Just to do our part in supporting men's health.
Absolutely. And I'll share that on all of our social media platforms. I'll put the link in the description of this video as well, guys, when it's uploaded. Well, it should be uploaded tomorrow morning, but I'll make sure to go back and put that link in there as well, guys. So, Jude, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on a Tuesday evening and giving up an hour of your time to come and speak with me and our audience. And also, I just want to thank all of the viewers as well that have tuned in and watching this. It's great having you guys on. I appreciate you guys tuning in live every single week whenever I decide to come on here and interview people from the world of pro wrestling. Without you guys, this show isn't possible. So thank you very much, everyone. Jude, I look forward to catching up with you on Saturday and seeing what you guys do best, man. That's put on a phenomenal wrestling show.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on, dude. This was a fun time.
My pleasure, dude. You're welcome back anytime you like, dude. You've got an open invitation.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. And make sure you stay tuned for my next episode coming up very shortly. Make sure you check out our social medias to see who my guest will be. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.